Boxing Day 1920, and 53,000 men, women and children pack inside Goodison Park. The extraordinary crowds have come to watch two local rivals play a match for charity. But this is no ordinary charity fixture. 11 of the players are international celebrities, and their team is the biggest draw in British and world football. Yet they are all full-time factory workers, and they are women. Good day, readers and listeners, and welcome to another episode of Tom's Rapid Reviews, where each week we take a few minutes to read out a book review written by one of our fabulous Surrey Library staff. I give a bit of background and a bit of context about the book and the author, and it's all done in the hope that you might try reading or listening to something new this week. This week's episode is celebrating the recent success of the Women's Euros tournament and the growing place of women's football in the spotlight. We're going to be previewing a couple of books today from the library service, all revolving around the history of women's football. The opening quote to this video was taken from the synopsis to Girls with Balls, A Secret History of Women's Football by Tim Tate. It's one of two books today that we're going to cover. The other is a women's game, The Rise, Fall and Rise Again of Women's Soccer by Suzanne Rack. Both books are available to reserve from your local Surrey library. Let's have a quick preview then of each one. Girls with Balls was published in 2013 and features documentary maker and author Tim Tate's take on the history of women's football, with a particular focus on the teams of female factory workers who rose to enormous popularity in the First World War. The most famous of which were the Dick Kerr ladies, named for their workplace, Dick Kerr Electrical Works. The history follows the FA's decision in 1921 to ban women's games from professional football fields. How the women players managed to carry on despite this, and the eventual lifting of this ban in 1971. A lift that came too late for the Preston ladies, formerly the Dick Kerr ladies, who played their last game in 1969. Now we'll cross the Atlantic, and consider A Woman's Game by Suzanne Rack, whose full subtitle, The Rise, Fall and Rise Again of Women's Soccer, tells us that this book follows a similar narrative to Girls with Balls. And it also tells us, with its use of the word soccer, that the book is written from Rack's own American perspective. This means that while much of the early history discussed in this book covers similar ground to Tim Tate's history, we get a different perspective later as we follow the American women's team to their newfound fame and success in the modern day, with players like Megan Rapinoe becoming stars. So while I can't offer a score out of 5 for either of these books, not having a review from staff or myself, I do feel comfortable in saying that between them could be uncovered a history that most fans of the beautiful game will be unfamiliar with, and one that deserves to be heard. And if any of you should happen to have read this or go on to read any of these books, we'd love to hear from you. It's worth noting too that Surrey libraries, most of them will have a sports section in their non-fiction collection, covering all of the major spectator sports, biographies from athletes, and some unexpected things, like the experiences of amateur sports people, world record attempts, and books full of unusual facts. So this summer, why not take in some sports, not just by watching or playing, but by reading or listening about it too. And why not join us next time for another of Tom's Rapid Reviews. Stay safe, borrow books, like and follow our pages, and we'll see you again very soon.